So their original goal was to raise $1,500.
Oh,
And they were able to give, I thought that was a lofty goal, but they raised over $4,000.
wow. So
Yeah.
1,500 it just sounds big, like to us, right? It's like, wow. So they crushed it. Hey, PBL Simplified audience. Thank you for joining us today. Today we have a PBL showcase, which means that we are going to bring in a PBL teacher from the classroom and we're going to break down one of her PBL units. And she is a teacher from Indianapolis, Indiana. She's a PBL certified facilitator, which means that she's been through PBL Jumpstart and advanced certification. Like, we've looked at her process and we're like, wow, Britni's doing amazing things. So we've been able to certify that, and it's something you can do as well. Be happy to talk to you about that at any point, but let's jump into this conversation with Britni. Britni, thank you for coming on the podcast to share today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So you're in a fourth grade classroom, and it's not a normal fourth grade classroom, right? Like, you've got some learners in there that are thinking differently. You're pushing them to think differently. Can you give us some overview of this PBL unit that you guys just finished up?
Yeah, so we have a student in our classroom. She's in remission this year, which is great, but she's been battling a form of pediatric cancer. And the teacher who used to run the Go for Gold month at our school no longer works here. So between conversations with her mom and I, it just came about really authentically that I need to do something because we don't want to not support Go for Gold month. And gold is the color of pediatric cancer awareness. And through conversations with her mom and some of the other people that she works with at Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation, it just made sense to do it as a PBL instead of me just planning a fundraiser. So it was actually very authentic the way it rolled out and landed in my lap. And the kids in my room had not done a PBL before. So it was our first one. And so we, really baby stepped through the process, and they were able to just roll through it really good. And now we're getting ready to do a second project, and they're really excited.
Yeah, I love how the authenticity of it, right? Like, you're like, your PBL antenna is just always up, isn't it? Once you get to this point in your career, you're just like, I'm always looking for an in for PBL. And it sounds like it was super authentic. And I like that you're distinguishing between like a traditional fundraiser and a PBL, like in this instance. So you kind of gave us this origin story of where it came from. One of your learners talking to a parent, like, first of all, that's super awesome. You're like, we've got to do something. So, right, we're going to step in and do something. So what was your entry event for this one?
So our entry event was that we had a person that works at Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation Zoom in with us, and she asked the students to support their Million Miles campaign, which is all about throughout the month of September, can we as a nation move a million miles. So their event had to have movement involved. And then she also asked them if they could educate people about pediatric cancer, different types of it, lack of funding, why fundraisers are important because they need the fundraisers to get funding for research. And so after our entry event, the driving question was, how can we as event coordinators, because that was her job title,
Okay.
raise awareness and money to help fund pediatric cancer research. And so
Nice.
through her call and her letter that she sent, so that way we could refer back to the things she asked us for, the kids got really excited and they planned a walkathon at our school.
So you got now, does Alex Lemonade Stand, do they normally zoom in with you? Because I actually just jumped on their website just now. Like, I don't see that anywhere. So where did that come from?
The mother of my student worked with them because they host lemonade stands in their communities throughout the summer. So she was able to get me in contact with that person who she's worked with. And then I was able to kind of give her my little elevator speech about what PBL is and how I need you to ask these kids for what you want, but don't tell them what to do. So that way
Yeah,
they
that's
can
right.
generate their ideas. So I just gave her some talking points. And I wanted to put in the educating others piece because for us that drives like the state standards. So we could just plan this walkathon, it would be great, but we also want to learn something along the way. and it was our first project of the year. So just learning citing sources, writing informative pieces, text features. So it was able for me, it gave me the opportunity to pull in those state standards, even though like it wasn't me asking them to do this, it was her. So
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's such a big difference, isn't it, when there's a community partner asking, your learners to do this versus the teacher asking you to do these things. So it's just kind of a quick quarter twist. I would say, got a mentor who always says, "Don't ask, don't get." Right. So what I really heard you say is like you got in touch and you asked, "Hey, could you zoom in with us and could you make a couple tweaks to your talk?" And sure enough, happy to do that. Right. So now you have this authentic ask. You've got a driving question that's authentic as well. So your learners have a task that they're completing for an outside audience, right? And it's going to be standards based. Where'd you go next?
Um, well, they had to decide what our need to knows were. So we were able to dissect her letter, and we used different color highlighters. So again, talking about like taking notes and tracking our thinking and writing on our paper. So because it's the beginning of the year, right? Like this project was done in September. So because our event was the last week of September before Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month was over. So this is super early in the year,
Mm,
but it helped us build our culture. It helped us build a lot of our protocols in our classroom. And so we were able to identify the three specific jobs we needed to do. We generated all of our need to knows from there, and that poster was full. And then I was able to create their benchmarks from there. And I was also able to create a rubric. So the students were able to look at a 4-point rubric. So they had to have a knowledge map, which was where they recorded all of their notes from their different research opportunities.
yep.
They had to create an advertisement for our event, and we used figurative language and text features. um, and then they had to create their written product, and so they had to learn some of those basics of informative writing, and they had some choice in that, whether they made like a brochure or some Google slides or just like a poster, and they handed their written product out to every walker at our event. So they not only donated money and they came and walked, but they went home with some literature that was written by my students.
Sweet. So again, fundraiser versus a PBL, right? Like they're two different things because it's like you could do a fundraiser, you could raise money for an honorable charity, and that's a great idea, right? And what happens when you turn it into a PBL? Like, what are the results now of this walkathon and what you can give to Alex's lemonade stand?
So their original goal was to raise $1,500,
Oh, okay.
and they were able to give, which I thought that was a lofty goal, and we
Ah,
also talked
fourth
about as
graders.
our culture goal setting because, part of our social emotional learning is how to make goals that are challenging but also attainable, and
Yeah.
I was like, $1,500, guys, like, that's a lot of money. I was like, "But if you have faith in yourself, I'll have faith in you, like, we'll figure out how to get there."
Yeah.
Also, this walkathon was closed it to just our students. We weren't quite ready to say the public come walk,
Okay.
and that was a big step. So it was only a school event at school during the day. But they raised over $4,000.
Wow. So
Yeah.
1,500 just it just sounds big like to us, right? It's like, wow. So they crushed it.
And what was really awesome was that usually as a facilitator, you have in your mind what you want your end event to look like, and you kind of breadcrumb your kids there. But they came up with some really awesome ideas throughout our project. And it was a short project because
Okay.
we started this like probably the last week of August, and we had to be done by September. So it was only like 3.5 weeks,
Okay.
really.
Yeah, that's great.
Um, so I try to keep it small and, like, not too much on put too much on their plate, but they were like, "Well, we obviously need to sell lemonade because people buy lemonade. It's Alex's lemonade stand." And so we had a lemonade stand. They got the supplies for lemonade, and, they were able to get it donated, and so then they sold their lemonade for $1 a glass.
Yeah.
And then, we all are obsessed with one way or another with Taylor Swift, and so they said, "We need to make friendship bracelets." And I was
Of
like,
course you do.
okay, they're like, "Everyone will buy a friendship bracelet because of Taylor Swift." I
Right. Let's do
was
it.
like, "Okay." So, we got just different shades of gold beads, and they had a friendship bracelet making station, and they paid $1 if they wanted to make a bracelet, and then part of it was also a dress down day for $1. So when we take the money for the laps, the money for the lemonade, and the money for the bracelets, and the dress down day, and we added it all up, it was over $4,000 of money that they raised that we were able to just give to Alex's lemonade stand.
What?
Yeah,
That's crazy. Because
I know.
like, they're all learner ideas, right? Like, they're like, the adult ideas aren't in there. The adult ideas are
It's
like,
like walkathon. They came
right?
up with everything else. And then one of the great things about all of that too, I think all of these other ideas they generated, it came back from our community partner because halfway through, she Zoomed with us again because she wanted to check in. And so the kids were ready with questions for her and ideas and thoughts. And so they were able to like bounce because their job was to be an event coordinator and she is an event coordinator. So they're like, how can we get like what if all these people can't walk or don't want to walk? So what can we do so more people can be involved? And so that's where all these other ideas came from, like 2 weeks before our end event. And so we're like, we got to get some lemonade. We got to get some beads. Let's do it.
Like, what a great experience, right? Because we always talk about employability skills too, and I love it when they're starting this early. It's like we're talking with an event planner, and I could just see your kids being like, "Well, we're event planners, so we're just like on equal footing, right?" Like, here's this adult, and her entire job, right? She's got a resume, she's got all this experience around community partners or community event planning, and your kids are like, "We've been doing this for like 2.5 weeks. Like, we're pretty much on the same level. Like, let's ask great questions," and they're
Yeah.
engaged. That's
Yeah.
so good. Even just the confidence to be able to ask good questions to an adult. I think that's a great skill for our learners to have.
Yeah, it really is, and I wish that she could have been here in person, but they are in Pennsylvania, but so we use that technology in our room, and so it really opens up the the door for you for who you can use as a partner because we just pulled up our camera and put it on our screen, and she was here in our room from Pennsylvania, so
Yeah,
it worked.
it's so good because you've got kids that are right in Indianapolis, and I'm sure some of them have never left Indianapolis. And now suddenly we've opened up the world to them, right? Like via Zoom, I can suddenly be, collaborating with somebody else who's a professional. And like, so now why not somebody in Arizona? Why not somebody in Florida? And again, they're fourth graders. It's so cool. So you guys crushed it with Alex's lemonade stand. So, anything else about that PBL unit before I'd like to also poke a little bit around like your relationship with Alex's lemonade stand now that you guys did such a great job with that. Anything else in the PBL unit itself that we should talk about?
I really, really tried hard to make sure that my assessment of state standards stood out in this project
Yeah.
because I am trying to encourage the other people in my building to join along the PBL units with me as I continue to roll them out this year. And so I really wanted to showcase that like we can still teach the same skills and hit those same standards using just a different text or a different format of learning than what is in our school curriculum.
Mm,
And so I made this rubric early on and I really communicated to the students what the rubric was. Like after we came up with our need to knows, I was able to put together what those benchmarks would be. It was really important to me to put the assessment piece in there, and I feel like sometimes when you get all excited about the fundraising and the end goal, you can kind of lose sight of some of that, and the kids knew what parts of the project were really to lead to next steps, but also what parts were being graded and what parts were being assessed and what I was looking for, and I think it set the tone for future assessments here in my classroom because, they're always looking for criteria, and if, like, I don't have it, sometimes they'll use that language with me, they'll say, "What's the criteria for this?" or "What are you
yeah.
looking for?" So, it was nice to see some of those things roll out and still continue to take place while we're between PBL units and, the language and the culture just continue to grow.
Yeah, I love that you emphasize that because you raised a bunch of money for a good cause with a great community partner. And by the way, we're still in school, right? So like academic standards are still being taught. They need to be assessed. How do you feel like that section of the PBL unit went? Like on the assessment, like did your kids get what you were putting down? Were they writing well? Were they communicating to different audiences?
Yeah, I feel like, us as a whole grade level have really seen a gap in the grammar piece of writing, and grammar, I think, can be one of the hardest parts to teach. Like, you can format your essay, really well in like copy format, but when you lack grammar, then you lack the communication that you're trying to convey. So it was really nice to say, like, this is the grammar piece we're working on today. Now go straight into your informational writing and look for that a specific mistake. Let's fix it. So it's like I'm not learning this grammar today so I can use it in high school in 4 years. Like I'm
Yes.
learning it today because I need it today to use it today. Oh,
Yes.
that reminds me, I forgot another piece they did. They decided they wanted a DJ to play music while we were walking. I did not have a DJ, so I threw in a persuasive piece too. We had to write a persuasive paragraph asking a DJ to come to our event, volunteer their time, so vocabulary, because some kids didn't understand what volunteer meant,
There we go. That's good.
and then, to come and play and support our walkers. And I told them, I'm going to take your persuasive writing, I'm going to put it out to the community. So I put it on some Facebook groups, I shared on Twitter, we put it in our newsletter. And my students said, well, what if nobody says yes? And I said, then we don't have a DJ.
Right.
And they said,
Right.
what? And I'm like, I can't wave a magic wand and make a DJ appear.
What kind of world is this where there's no DJ?
I know, and I think that was just another piece of, like, as a facilitator, sometimes I try to, before I start a project, get those community partners lined up, know
Yeah.
that I'm setting my kids up for success. But when the DJ piece was sprung on us mid-project, I didn't have anyone that was already committed to doing this for my kids, so it was really on them, and I was able to, put their persuasive letters out there, and I had somebody, like, comment on Facebook that wanted to come. They were like, "This is amazing. I'm starting up my DJ business, so I'm
Okay.
not super experienced, but I need a place to start. This sounds great." I'm like, "You need a place to start. We need someone free. Sounds perfect." And so I thought that was just another really authentic piece of PBL that the kids aren't used to, because they
Yeah.
always just think, I'm writing this, my teacher is grading it, we're moving on. And I'm like, well, if you don't write well, no one's going to say yes. So we have
Yeah.
to be really convincing.
Right. That's so good. It's such a great example of I like to talk about, you have to move the why closer to the learner, right? Like you said, like
Mm,
nobody's inherently excited about grammar, right? Like so getting better at grammar for high school is like that's a why that's like 3 years away, right? 6 years away for your kids. But moving it up closer, like you need to learn persuasive writing so we can have a DJ. And we all know we need a DJ, right? So they've got to jump in. So good.
yeah, it was great. And then the day I told them that, I was like, "Somebody said yes, they're gonna come. This could be great." They were so excited, and then they were like, "Whose letter was it?" And they all
Yeah.
know. So then I was like, "You'll never know, but somebody in here had one good enough." And
Yeah.
so,
And
so yeah,
they're excited about the work they did, right? Like they're excited about the academic work that they did, and they're like cheering for grammar. Right?
and then we were also able to tie some math. I know sometimes math can be hard for PBL because some of them roll into those reading and writing standards so easily. But with the money and the
Oh yeah.
conversions, because we don't have a perfect track here at our elementary school, so we had to figure out how much of a mile is one lap. So how many laps does that create to make a mile? And then we had to add them all up to see how many miles, because part of the Million Mile campaign was not just logging the money we earned, but they wanted you to log how many miles you moved,
Okay.
because their goal was 1,000,000 miles. And
Right.
so I could have easily took those tallies, counted them up, logged it in there, and did all of that, but I put it on them, and we used some of our math standards in our math lessons to take the time to do that after the event was over. And I always love it when I can pull math in, because it's not always easy in the elementary world. Reading is the easiest, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great that you could tie it in. I mean, it's such an authentic project. You're just bound to have more standards that come in too, because it is so authentic, I think. So you obviously your kids crushed this PBL unit, right? Both on the inspirational side, the impact wise, and the standard side. What is but you're still doing more work with Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation. So what does that look like now?
So exciting things have happened because of this PBL and the amount of money they raised. So we found out that we were one of the top earners in the nation for their Million Mile campaign, not only with money, but also miles.
Mm,
So they are sending us an award of some sort. I just found out today, so I don't know what it looks like, but it was just really nice to hear that the kids are actually going to get an award and I'm going to get to bring that in and surprise them with that for being such like high earners. Me as a facilitator, I've got to do some interviews with people that work there because the project will be a project spotlight on their website at some point. And it was nice because I got to interview with the student's mom who inspired this whole thing because it's her background and her experience that led us here. And then from a teacher standpoint, what's exciting is they are trying to create some resources to make doing an event like this at your school a lot more, um, I guess, attainable would be the right word, a lot more attainable in your hours of trying to get all the resources and everything it takes because they want to put literature on their website. They want to take down those classic lesson plans and just put more resources in place. So, as a facilitator, if you want to hold an event like this, you can get all of your materials in one place and you don't have to scour the internet like I did for articles and articles and articles that you have to figure out how do I put this in student friendly language for 4th
right.
graders, and so
Yeah. So this PBL
it's been
unit
great.
is again impacting your learners. It's impacting Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation, but even like reworking some of their lesson plans, right? So it goes on to the next classroom. So I
Mhm.
just love the real world aspect of it is where it all started, right? There was an authentic need. And as your learners are solving it, they're affecting the next classroom, right? And the next classroom, the next classroom, like generations, right? So it's super impactful work while they're learning grammar and persuasive writing and math all at the same time. Isn't it just an exciting way to teach?
It's so exciting. I couldn't teach another way. I just can't.
Right? It's so good. It's how you've always wanted to teach. And you're crushing it, Brittany. So thank you so much for the work and the thoughtfulness that you've put into your PBL practice over the last couple of years. It's been neat to see your journey. And I think it's inspiring. So thanks for sharing today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, the quote of the project to take away is we learned about a lot of the facilities that run the research for Alex's Lemonade Stand, and I had a student the day we did that research talk about this facility they have and they said I'm going to go there one day and I'm going to work there. That's what
Mm,
I want to do.
yeah,
And so a resource that I encouraged Alex's to put up on their website is just a community partner access page because I'm like, we partnered with you as an event coordinator, but what if they could have talked to a scientist, a researcher, somebody
mhm,
who works at that specific facility, and um, they could see all these other jobs that are out there that give
yeah,
back in this way. And so it was nice to see one of my kids who is an English language learner, and sometimes they struggle with school, but now they have this goal of being a scientist and working in a lab for Alex's Lemonade Stand. And it just makes you know that the work you're doing is the right thing.
for sure. It gives you goosebumps. It's like
Yeah.
employability skills, career exploration, like all within fourth graders, right? Inspiring them. Like, what are they made to do? So good.
Yeah.
So good. Well, thank you, Brittany, for tuning in for this. Really appreciate you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right, PBL Simplified audience. You just heard a great PBL showcase. You got to, we just walked you all the way through entry event to final presentation, need to knows, voice and choice, standards based, assessment based, PBL units. Community partners are wrapped up in there. They're solving real world problems. And real is not in quotes, right? We don't put real in quotes here at Magnify Learning. We're talking about your learners, whatever grade level that is, solving real world problems. And when they do, they see that impact, they get passionate about it, and they start dreaming about some really big things as they're really, really engaged. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope that you lead inspired.